If soap can propel a leaf boat forward, how far can it go on a long straight track? I decided to test it out, so I made a long wood track, and I was excited to seal it with the mythical product of Flex Seal, which was a childhood dream. To prevent a mess, I thought a single roll of wrapping paper could go underneath, and I was sadly disappointed. Nonetheless, after cursing the wrapping paper company out, I just used some cardboard boxes and was on my way. After coating it thoroughly, I set it aside to dry, filling up the long track with some water to confirm that Flex Seal is goated, and I was devastated to find that I was fed Flex Seal propaganda my whole life. To be fair, I don't think I shook it enough, and it definitely didn't help that it was left outside to dry in sub-freezing conditions. Regardless, I had to double down on the Flex Seal, so I got a second can and coated it again. Sadly, despite 2 layers of Flex Seal, it still managed to leak. Although it's not nearly as bad, so it was good enough for some trials. While filling it up, I couldn't get the water to be all the way to the brim since the ground wasn't perfectly level and the track leaked. I figured that meant I was going to have a heck of a time keeping it straight for so long. As a result, I opted for a rectangular boat to try to align it to be as straight as possible. The first trial looked promising at first, but then it brushed against the wall and completely turned it to the side. The second trial, however, went about as good as it can for a boat of this size without adding the soap directly to the boat. It cruised by the 1 meter mark after about 9 seconds, and as mentioned, this was about as flawless of a run as possible, and it continued down the track. Now it was moving at quite a sluggish pace, so I'll speed it up a bit here, and if you thought it would make it all the way to the end, you'd be wrong. It ended up stopping a bit short, as you can see here. To better see why that happened, I added some ground pepper to the water for the next attempt, and this time, for no particular reason, I used the smallest 3D printed boat that still floats. You can basically ignore the boat on this trial because it had a train wreck of a start, but it's still cool to watch the pepper move down the track. It kept going down the rest of the track just like the boat before, and now you can see that it started to decelerate at about the same distance from the end as a traffic jam of surface molecules and pepper accumulated. To make the boat faster, I switched to thinner and lighter styrofoam and also cut a channel so I could add the soap here. This would help keep the effect more localized behind the boat as it moves and prevent it from spreading around the boat as much as possible. This definitely helped the boat accelerate for a longer time and reach a higher speed, but I had some aiming issues still that prevented the boat from reaching the 1 meter mark. At this point, I wanted to try some different variations of this boat design and see the results. I added a little bit of pepper as well. Unfortunately, I absolutely botched this attempt, pulling my hand away too fast, which dropped some more soap on the side slightly in front of the boat, giving the boat some whiplash to the side. I did like how it gets a boost, almost like it bounces. Anyway, I moved on to a different shaped boat, thinking maybe some wings could help it course correct automatically. I also added some soap before dropping it. Dropping this in, and it almost spun out right off the bat before weaving back and forth, but it did make it past the 1 meter mark, reaching there in about 5 seconds. Then it crashed shortly after. I was definitely happy with the pace of these new boats and wanted to try them back on the circular track. I'm out of time on this short, but you can continue at 10:57 on the full video to see the final trial.